Alright, good morning everybody. I've got to turn my camera on. See if I can figure that out real quick. Well, that's not the camera I want, but that'll do for today. Let's turn it up a little bit bigger. Alright, good morning. How's everybody doing? I'm Leon Harrell. This is In Tune from the 1MinuteMusicLesson.com. This is our show where we meet every week, 10 o'clock Saturday Central Time, which is Chicago time. And the focus of our show is to talk about intentional practice and do some intentional practice. So I'll quit futzing with the camera here. Let's just start by jumping into our comments and just say good morning to everybody. Good morning, David. And good morning, Dawn. All right. And I don't see any other friends yet, but I'm sure we'll have more people join us. So, woohoo! Woohoo! I'm trying some new sound effects today. Let's see. We are going to focus this morning on, let's see. This morning's tune is the Christmas song. And the song, that's composed by Mel Torme. And the other thing we're going to talk about today, I'm going to demonstrate the iPhone app for Piano Marvel. If you're not aware, they just released an iPhone app, I want to say a week ago. Maybe it was a little more than a week, but it was right at a week. I've downloaded it and installed it on my phone. And let's see, I'm just going to make this camera in front so I can pay attention. Well, we'll do that later. I can't quite figure that out. I downloaded that app. Good morning. I see a new friend, Zauberhoft. Good morning. The app is brand new, but the program Piano Marvel is not brand new. So Piano Marvel has been around for many years, and it started out on the computer, like a desktop application. So that was their first product, and that's like their most polished and finished product, if you will. They're always developing it. But then after that, they eventually released an iPad version, which I kind of like the iPad version as like my favorite version, but I think I use the desktop one more because it's always connected to my keyboard. But the iPhone version is brand new. So we're going to talk about some good things about it, and then I'll highlight some things that probably, I imagine they'll change because it's kind of in its first stages. That company is really good about sort of continuous development, and that's one thing I really like about that product especially. So we're going to look at that this morning, and before I get rolling into all the teaching of everything, I want to do a quick poll. I want to ask you, have you ever tried practicing music skills on your phone? So if you have or you haven't, let me know in the comments, because I'd like to take a little time to dialogue before we jump into everything. Good morning, Sandy. I see you. Let's see. Let's share our friends with everybody so we can say good morning. So good morning, Zauberhoft, and good morning, Sandy. So again, if you're just joining us for the first time, if it's your first time at the show, say hello in the comments. Let me know your name, your instrument, and where you're joining from around the world. We have people join us from all over the world every week. So it's always interesting to know, where are you? You know, I'm in Champaign, Illinois, so I'm about 2 hours south of Chicago. And, you know, we have friends from all over the place: California, Canada, Florida, Nepal. So let's see. Sandy is saying, not playing skills, but I've used a music theory app. Yeah, there's a lot of good music theory apps out there. If you have a favorite one, Sandy, let me know in the chat. David says, never practiced on the iPhone before this week. Yeah, how did you like it, David? And let's see. Zauberhoft 1, you're asking a question, and let me know if I probably need some more context. I remember I paid last year €10, now it's €15. Why? Do you mean for the Piano Marvel app? Let me know if that's what you're talking about. Okay. All right, I don't see other things rolling in, but I'll tell you, I I have always loved Apple products. I'm like addicted to Apple products. So when I got the iPad, not the first generation, I waited till the second one. I was teaching college at, I want to say I was teaching at Illinois Wesleyan, which is in Bloomington, Illinois. And I remember I was looking for apps to help explain to my class, like how to learn different music theory concepts, because Sandy, like you, the music theory app was kind of what I was looking for at the time. And I wasn't particularly looking for like a practice app for piano. That didn't come until later. But I definitely realized, you already know this, but like that there's so many things on the App Store. There's probably some like app that does what you're looking. And there was a really great music theory app that I liked because I compose. And I'm blanking on the name. The name will come to me, but I'll show you. But the point of the story is that particular app showed you like all the chords for music and like the function of the chords, which you may not understand yet. But essentially, it helped you build a map to create songs, which was like it's the way I learned how to write music in music school, but I had never visualized it the way this map did, and it really blew my mind away. I thought that was awesome. So let's see, we've got some other things rolling in. Hey, Alex, welcome back. And Zauberhoft, you say yes, the desktop app. That's a good question. So you're saying when you got it, it was €10, and then later it was €15. I don't know the answer to like why is the price different. I know that if you ultimately decide you want to subscribe through my affiliate link, I'm an affiliate for Piano Marvel, but I don't work for them. You can get a 20% discount. That probably accounts for what you're talking about. 10 is not exactly 20% less than 15, but I don't know how the conversion works with the euro. That they're expanding to. Of course, it's available internationally because it's just an app you download. But they're expanding. I guess you would say their offerings to more of an international audience in some sort of way. So hopefully that answers your question. But feel free to reach out to their support. I've talked with the folks at Piano Marvel many times over the years. They're lovely people. If you have a question, you send them the question, you'll get a response very quickly, and they're wonderful people to work with. Sandy says, let's see, Sandy. Oh, I need the visual. Yeah, same here, Sandy. I'm totally a visual learner, and I find that when I teach, when I taught in colleges, I really realized people learn different ways and with different methods. But visual learning works so well for me that when I teach using that method, people still learn better because I'm teaching more effectively. And let's see. Alex. Yeah, I remember. You're from Nepal. That's wonderful. And thank you. I appreciate your comment there. The thing I want to get into today, I want to talk a little bit about kind of the idea of convenience and why learning is a lot easier when things are convenient. So really, that's kind of the reason I'm excited about Piano Marvel on the iPhone, because, I mean, how much more convenient could practicing be when it's in your pocket all day long? But the other thing is, a lot of times when we struggle to practice or build up like an intentional practice with things, essentially, we're trying to eliminate barriers to make it easier to practice so that there's just less struggle to get to the part you want to do. And we'll probably talk about that on more episodes, but, I just want to sort of introduce that idea today. David says, is anyone experiencing Leon breaking up? Hopefully it is not breaking up, but if other people are seeing that, let me know in the comments. We change up our setup a little bit every week. I'm hoping to get my last piece of equipment this week to sort of finalize the setup. And once I do that, I don't have to break it down and put it back together, and everything kind of runs smoother when I don't have to do that. But I will say, David, in particular, if you experience more lag or like there's a breakup in the video, when the replay processes on YouTube, somehow YouTube fixes that. I don't know how the technology works, but when you watch the replay back, there's almost never a breaking up effect. Alex asks, you can give any information in music. Yeah, I don't know if I totally follow if you're asking a question or saying, but music is certainly like a language and it does share information. Let's jump into our lesson today. I want to talk about the Christmas song by Mel Torme. I love that song. I hope you do too, because what a great Christmas tune. I'm going to switch over to our iPhone version of Piano Marvel. And before we dive into like the ins and outs of, the iPhone version of that, I'm going to let you know, if you're here for the first time and you want to follow along with us every week, go ahead and visit 1minutemusiclesson.com/toolbox. You'll see a link to download Piano Marvel. And if you decide to stay on with it, it's a subscription service. If you decide to stay on with it and you use our affiliate link, you'll get a 20% discount off your subscription. But no pressure, that's totally up to you. The iPhone version, I'm really liking a lot about it. And there's some things I hope that they'll update soon, which I imagine they probably will, because they're pretty obvious things that just need some updating. But when you log into the app, you're going to land just on the home page of the app, which is different than the desktop version and the iPad version. Desktop and iPad look almost identical. They're not very different. But your phone is so much smaller of a space to display stuff. They have to trim some things out and show them differently. So that'll make sense as we look at the product. So you land on the home page here, and today what I'd like to do is just search up in the title bar, and I have to do this with my hands because it's on my phone. We're going to look for the Christmas song. And there's two versions of this tune in Piano Marvel. Piano Marvel has 20,000 or so pieces of music. There's a huge music library. There's two versions that we can look at, but the one I want to focus on today is the level 3. It's the easier of the two, which you probably can't see that. It says level 3 at the bottom there. And then the level 4. I'll tell you the difference, and you can decide later which one interests you the most. The first one here on the left, this is only going to be the melody, which for today's purposes, I think we'll have a good lesson focusing on that. The second version is going to give you a melody and a left-hand accompaniment that is, if you're interested in playing jazz or learning jazz, what's nice about that second arrangement is that it's got primarily the bass note only of the jazzier arrangement of things. There's a little bit of full chords in there. It's not too much. I'll show it to you so I don't have to describe it. Let's look at it. As you look at this arrangement, the melody in the right hand, the accompaniment in the left hand are both very simple. So if you're sort of at that stage where you're saying, I have trouble making my left hand and my right hand work together, this is a really good arrangement for that. So I encourage you to take a look at that one. I'm going to focus this morning, though, on the other one, which is a level 3. And this version is, it is left hand and right hand, but there's almost no spot in the piece where you're playing your left hand and right hand at the exact same time. So again, this could be a bridge piece for you to get to playing left and right hand together. But it kind of just depends on where you're at with your skill level. Let's see, a couple more comments popped in here. Alex asked a quick question. I asked you, uh, what is the what's the difference between I think what you're asking me is what's the difference between slurs and ties. And Alex, that's a good question because in music there's so many different symbols. But I'll tell you just the short answer. If you go to my YouTube channel, 1minutemusiclesson.com, there is a video called Slurs and Ties, and it will explain it to you in just a minute. But the difference is a slur connects two notes. It looks exactly the same. It's just an arc. But it's just telling you play these two notes to connect them when you play them. So ba ba for the second note instead of ba ba. Don't break them up. So slur them together. Kind of like when you slur your speech if you've had a little too much to drink, it's all kind of running together. A slur in the music connects everything together. A tie means tie these two notes together, and the length of the note, you add the length of the note together. So if you've got a quarter note, which is one beat, and another quarter note, which is one beat, when they're tied, you're counting two beats. 1 + 1 is 2. So you're tying them together. The real secret to slurs and ties, because the problem most people run into, like you might intellectually understand that, and I did for probably 15 years, but it did not occur to me that the reason you can use the same symbol for them is that you can't slur two of the same note together. So if there's, a G followed by a G and they're slurred together, you can't tell that they're two different notes because they're connected. So essentially, they kind of mean the same thing, but your slur always connects two different notes, one higher, one lower, or, maybe one lower, one higher. But your tie literally always connects two notes at the exact same level. That's a great question. Thank you, Alex. So let's look at this lesson for the Christmas song. And before we dive into it, I like to always talk about my Smart Sight reading method. So it's just an acronym I like to use to teach with, which means scale, meter, accidentals, range, and tempo. And this is the same order every time I sit down to sight read. This is the order I do it in. And that repetition over and over is where you're going to get you're going to start to see constant improvement in your sight reading every time you do it using this particular method. So we're going to start with the scale of this arrangement. So I'll switch back to my iPhone. And what's important is the scale, not the key. So you might sort of interchangeably think of those ideas as the same. They're not the same, but they're interrelated, meaning you can't break them apart. So when we think about key, we look at the key signature, which is the front of the music where we see the treble clef and the bass clef. And I can't click on anything with the iPhone version, so I'll just have to point. I'll just point right up here. The top line is the treble clef, and the bottom line is the bass. I lost my train of thought. The scale. The key signature, the sharps and flats at the beginning, tell us what key it is. But regardless of what the key signature says, the music and the context clues tell us what scale we're playing or what key we're in this moment in time. A key signature at the beginning just tells you that the vast majority of this piece is in this particular key. But one problem you'll run into in published music, and it's not everywhere, it kind of depends on like the purpose behind the music. But these beginning level pieces, a lot of the purpose is to try to simplify things for you so you're less anxious as you sight read, or it's just trying to pare down the visual information you have to take in. This particular piece, the key signature is C major. There's no sharps, there's no flats. But the actual key the tune is in is G major. And how do I know that? It's the context clue because I see the leading tone everywhere. Well, what's the leading tone? It's just the note that's one note on the piano keyboard below the resting tone or the tonic. So for today's instance, I won't dive into that too much, but the key is G major. If there was a key signature, we would expect to see an F sharp. And as we look through this piece, I'm going to scroll. So the Piano Marvel on the phone works different than the iPad and the desktop. It scrolls up and down on those two things, whereas the phone, it scrolls from left to right, just because that's what fits on the screen better. But as we look through the piece, we will see that accidental occurring a lot. And that's the third part of the Smart Sight Reading System. The second part is the meter. So the meter is going to be the time signature, which in this piece is 4/4. But it's important to understand sort of the difference between a time signature and a meter. The time signature is literally the numbers 4 and 4, and that is telling you 4 on top means 4 beats in a measure, and 4 on bottom is telling you, well, what kind of note is the beat equal to? The beat is equal to a quarter note because the 4, if you think of it as a fraction, like 1/4, 1/4 is a quarter, or a quarter of the whole circle. So it's 4 of a fourth of the circle. So that's just like mathematically, a time signature is sort of the mathematical component. The meter is the feeling. So if meters and time signatures, a lot of that is sort of like interrelated to dance. So when we listen to music in 4/4, you move your body in a certain way. You bebop back and forth to the meter, to the sound, the aural perception of the sound. But music in 3/4, you sort of dance to that differently, naturally, because you just respond to where are the accents and where are the unaccented parts of the music. So we've talked about our scale, we've talked about our meter. Next, we look at the accidentals, because like I sort of keep alluding to, is like there's lots of context clues, and that's what music theory teaches us, is how to find the context clues. Most music is going to have some alterations from the scale itself, or the key signature. So in this case, the key signature is C major, but like I said, the scale is G major. We're going to see a lot of F sharps because the key of G major just has one sharp, which is F sharp. And as I scroll through and look at this, I'm just going to scan through and find, where do I see accidentals? So I see one here on beat 3, which is an F sharp. If I keep scrolling, scroll, here's another measure with an F sharp. This next measure has an E flat, which we've seen some E naturals already. Just before it, you can see right before that E flat to the left of it, there's an E natural. So in essence, this is altering an existing note that we've played. We keep scanning through it because it's important to just get a lay of the land. I just see another F sharp there, more F sharps, more F sharps. Here's a C sharp, all right? And we're starting to get into the bridge of the piece, that sort of middle part of the song. And a lot of times the point of the bridge is to keep your interest. And if we don't change keys or start to explore some other notes, eventually you're going to lose interest in the song. So it's not surprising to see here there's a C sharp. It's something new. It's something to keep our interest. We'll keep moving. E flat's coming back. Here's a B flat. That's the first time we've seen that. Keep moving. A lot of F sharps. All right, and then I think it's gonna, and that's the end of the piece. So altogether, we've seen a B sharp and B flat and E flat and an F sharp, and we did see a C sharp for just a moment in there. Okay, so we're just going to be aware of that when we start to sight read. The next part of the system is the range, and the range, I'm going to look at the range of the whole piece because this is a pretty short piece and it's relatively simple, in comparison to other music. This is not Beethoven here. So I'm going to look at the range of the whole piece, but if you're a more advanced reader, you start to look at the range of the sections of music. Or even if you're a beginner and your intention today is to just play the first 8 measures, just look at the range of the first 8 measures because that's all that matters. Is the point of looking at the range is to say, where are my hands going to be on the keyboard? The range of this piece is C3 to G4. So I'm going to switch to my overhead camera. I'm going to show you what does that mean and where is that. So here's middle C. All right, I'm going to mark that on my keyboard. Middle C is C4. So if you just start from the bottom, the first C is C1, the second one's 2, the next one's 3. So middle C is always C4. So the range of this piece is, I just said it a while ago, C3 to G4. So this is C4. Let me turn my keyboard on. All right, and I apologize if my audio's a little out of balance today. Let me know if it is, but I have, like I said, a little bit different setup. So that's middle C, C4. An octave below that is C3. And you'll hear 2 piano sounds. Maybe I can turn mine off, actually. Oh, so this is a feature of the iPhone version. It's in the desktop and iPad version too. But what's beautiful about it in the iPhone is that the piano sound is built into the phone. So when I hit this key on my real keyboard in real life, it's just sending a MIDI signal to the phone, and the piano sound is coming from the phone. But why is that awesome? Because if you're practicing on the go and you don't have your keyboard from real life with you, you just use the piano in the phone, and we'll look at that in just a moment. But here's C4 in the middle, that's middle C. C3 is an octave below it, and the rest of the range, the highest note in this piece is G4. Okay, so that's not a big range. All right, and we talked about last week when we sight read, I'm going to grab something. When we sight read, it's good to talk about visual boundaries and helping to minimize the visual clutter. I like to just sometimes help students by putting, any object will do, I just like to use dice. Put a dice on the 2 notes that are at the top of the range and the bottom of the range, and then just bump it out by 1 note each direction. Because we're going to play these notes, we don't want the dice in the way. But now, when we sight read this, and we reach that point where we're starting to get like, oh God, I'm about to crash and burn, and we're looking down at our hands, we're taking away the rest of the visual clutter, because now all we're going to do is pay attention to just this part of the range, and that's why it's part of the Smart Sight Reading System. The last part of the system is tempo. So we've already talked about the meter, what do we need to know to count the music? But the tempo is how fast are we going to play the music, or in our particular case, why we were talking about sight reading, how fast are we going to sight read this piece, which we never want to sight read faster than we're comfortable doing, because sight reading, if you sight read too fast, you're not actually gaining the benefit of doing it. Sandy is saying, I'm seeing the piano reversed. Before I saw it as if it was positioned for me to play. Now it's not. You know what, Sandy? This software I use, every time I unplug and plug the camera, it resets the settings. Let me switch back to the camera real quick. So this is an octave above C. Oh, now I understand what you're saying. Sorry. Let me see if I can fix that real quick, because that'll be a lot more useful for our lesson today. Rotate 180, and then turn off this mirror effect. Okay, so let me just say that one more time. Here's middle C, C4. This is an octave below C3, and this is G4. All right, and that's the whole range of our piece. And now that I'm not displaying it, with dyslexia, it's probably a lot easier to understand. So now we're going to jump back in to tempo. So we're focusing on tempo now, but thank you, Sandy, for letting me know. So the tempo of this piece, Piano Marvel has the practice guide built in, which we're going to use today. In your practice guide, it will tell you the ideal tempo that the software or that the composer has put into the notation, or maybe the music publishers put in. So the music's published at 100 beats per minute. But that doesn't mean you have to play it that fast. You have to play it that fast to earn the ticket in the Piano Marvel system. So if your goal is to earn your ticket today, that's what you would do. But our goal when we sight read is to really make sure that we're processing the information at the speed we're ready to, so that we are actually growing our musical skill. Because if we're really just pressing notes and moving too fast and we're getting more anxious or we're getting more upset that we just can't do it, we're not really practicing with intention. So to practice with intention and to sight read more successfully, we're going to slow it down on purpose, because we're trying to hit all these other things that we're focused on doing. Fun fact, I sent out a email to my newsletter this week. One of my favorite versions of this song is Frank Sinatra's version, and it's sung at 50 beats per minute, which is half the speed of what this particular publisher's version is listed at. So we're going to sight read it at 50. But you may choose to sight read it slower than that. I don't think you want to sight read it much slower than 30 beats a minute, because it may be so slow you can't recognize the tune. At some point it's so slow you can't recognize it. But that doesn't mean you can't work on your sight reading that slow. That just means you may not recognize the tune as you're sight reading it. Okay, cool. Let's set our tempo, which is hiding behind me here. Our tempo slider is going to be at 100. I'm going to drop that down to 50. And the phone version has the same two modes that we talk about all the time. There's the prepare mode and what's called the assess mode. But on the phone, they've changed the name to probably reflect a little bit more what it is you're doing. You're not necessarily assessing yourself. You're playing along with the software. So the prep mode is what we'll start in. And the prep mode lets you be the driver of the software, which is what we want to do when we're working on intentional practice for sight reading. The play mode lets the software drive the tempo, which is what you do when you're sort of ready to master the piece. Alex asked a good question here. Let's see what the question is. I don't need accidental in range. I need meters. I don't understand. Okay, good deal. Another thing I'll point you to, Alex, and anyone interested, there's going to be, if you go to 1minutemusiclesson.com, at the top it says lessons. I have about 30 lessons that if you're a beginner, these 30 lessons are going to get you up to speed really quickly. If you are an intermediate or advanced player and you struggle with sight reading, the way I'm teaching these particular lessons is really helping you focus on the only information that matters to sight read, and they're very visual, so it may teach you or explain it in a way you have not heard before. So I find that it helps a lot of people for that reason. But Alex, there are at least 5 lessons on meter, but they're each a minute long. So I mean, if you've got 5 minutes today, check those videos out. I think that will help you, but we'll come back to that in other lessons for sure. And we'll talk about meter as we work on this piece today. So the tempo, I'm going to take it at 50 beats per minute. And let's just hit the play button just to get a sense for what the piece sounds like. I don't recommend you listen to the whole thing, but if you need to kind of get in the groove, go ahead and put it in play mode and hit play.
1.
And it's going to count
2.
off for you.
Set. Go.
All right, and I'll stop it there. And so you can tell that's pretty slow, but we're doing that on purpose because I want you to do it with me. So we're going to try this, and I'm going to be the guinea pig. I'm going to play it on the phone with my thumbs here. So you'll see it on the screen, and I'll do the best I can. It's really my first time trying that, but let's try it out. So I'm going to do it in prepare mode. I'm going to hit the play button. And when we practice together, I want you to choose the skill level you're at for the practice you're doing. So if you're new to reading music, try to only say the names of the notes. So the first note is G, which is this first one here. And the next note is G, an octave above, right there. So go ahead and sort of get ready for the first two notes because they'll get you oriented. I'm going to stop that and start it over. Okay, if you're beyond that level, I want you to focus on your counting. So you're going to count 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4 for those first two measures, and so forth. If you're beyond that, go ahead and try playing it on the keyboard. And if you're comfortable playing it on the keyboard, there's lots of other things we could do, but try your hand at just adding a couple chords to jazz it up. But let's focus today. I'm going to play it on the phone as best I can, and I'll tell you right now, there's two modes. Let's go ahead and look at that because the keyboard, there's two different sizes. And for me, my eyesight's not as good as it used to be, and my thumbs are just a little clumsy. Let's see if we can change that to the larger keyboard, the 24 keys, versus the 36. All right, I think for the purpose of what we're doing today, the 24 one works better. Okay, oh, and while we're here, let's just look real quick. The visual settings, visibility, low, high, low, high. Oh, okay, that colors the cursor that moves along. Why don't we just make it about so? Okay, so we're going to go back into here, and we're going to focus on the first 16 measures. So we're going to go to our practice guide, and we're going to go to the chopped mode. We're going to do 50 beats a minute, number 5 here, 1 through 16. We're going to do it in prepare mode, and let's do that together. I'll count it off, and you play along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3. Sorry, I counted that wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and we'll pause right there. So I will tell you, if your goal is to learn the notes and test, am I playing the right note? I think the iPhone keyboard is going to serve your purpose. If your goal is to do it in rhythm on the phone, I think you will find some challenges until you get accustomed to it. So I think for me, I probably have to practice this a handful of times, playing with my thumbs to get the rhythm right, because that's a new skill for me, like trying it that way. But for today's purpose, just so we can keep it smooth, I'm also going to use my Bluetooth connector to my phone. So this is really cool too. Your phone can connect to your real-life MIDI keyboard through Bluetooth, which is wireless. And you can use your phone to play Piano Marvel, but controlling it with your real keyboard. So I'm going to do that this time. We're going to try it again, measures 1 through 16, and we'll do it one more time. So try it along with me. Either say the pitches as we go, count the rhythm as we go, or play it along on your keyboard. Okay, here we go. I always count in 2 empty measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. David, you asked a quick question here. Let's answer your question first. If your real keyboard is available, why would you use the iPhone app? If you have a real MIDI keyboard, the primary reason I would suggest the iPhone app for you, if not you, David, but like someone who has a real keyboard, if you don't have a computer and you don't have an iPad, but you already have an iPhone, start with the iPhone version of it, because that's going to allow you to just get going, try it out for the 30-day free trial starting today. And you can continue to use the iPhone version to develop and build your skill. There will be a point, at least with the current version of it, where I wouldn't recommend the iPhone version. So earlier this week, I tried practicing Debussy's Clair de Lune, and although I could do it, I don't like the scrolling effect for the iPhone as they currently have it for more difficult music. But I think the scrolling effect is really nice if you're a beginning music reader, or if your particular trouble is like you have trouble following the music and keeping your eye moving. The scrolling effect is good for that. But once you reach a particular level, as a teacher, I would switch you over to a desktop version or iPad version, because I want to eventually get you more comfortable reading paper music, and those are going to get you closer to the feeling of that. So that is a good question, and honestly, David, that's like the first thing I kind of thought about was like, well, really on the iPhone, that doesn't seem like a good approach to me. But after trying it for a while, I can see some benefits to it for sure. One thing I noticed as we were going through that together, the sound of my real keyboard and the sound of the iPhone piano that it's playing along, there's going to be a little bit of delay in that. So what I'm going to do for our next section is I'm going to go in and turn off the sound of the internal instrument. And that way, let's try that one more time. We're going to do that here in the preferences, in the instrument settings, and we're going to turn the volume off on the synthetic piano sound there. Jump back into it there. And Sandy, you asked a question. I think it's going to help me learn in moments where I am not in front of my setup. Yeah, I think if you're sort of like a busy adult that's, you're working and it's really hard for you to squeeze in practice time, I think that's kind of the primary benefit of the phone version in my point of view. The people that make the software, they've created the iPhone version to really help children desire practicing more, because kids love to play games and like play on their phone and stuff. I mean, grown-ups like that. I like that too. But I think that the benefit for an adult, especially someone who does work like a full-time job and you're trying to squeeze in practice time, you could easily do this iPhone version on your lunch break for 10 minutes, right at your desk. So to me, that is genuinely like one of the best parts of it. Sandy, I see that I travel a lot and use it for that. Yeah, that also, if you travel a lot, that's a great idea. Let's try it one more time so it can be a little bit smoother. And let's try it a little bit faster now that we've had a chance to look at it. So we're going to do it in play mode this time. We're going to play measures 1 through 16. And let's do it together.
1, 2, set, go.
Oh, that's too fast. We're going to do it in practice mode. Chopped. Measures 1 through 16, 50. And here we go.
1, 2, set, go.
1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and right there. So I noticed there's a bit of a lag for the MIDI when I play my real keyboard connected to it through the Bluetooth, which is, I love the Bluetooth connector for some functions, but I do find that with Piano Marvel, at least my particular connector, there's a bit of a lag with it sometimes. So it will mark more notes red than are actually being played incorrectly. But let me just make sure that the metronome is turned on loud enough to where I can hear what it is I'm syncing up to. Let's see, we're going to do play controls, instrument, metronome. I would turn the metronome up just so I could hear that. Okay, so we'll try that in the next portion. So if you have questions on measures 1 through 16, throw them in the chat, or if you're watching this on the replay, throw them in the comments below and we'll address those throughout the week. So if you're following along and you're really trying to do this, but you have some questions similar to what Alex said, like, I need help with meter, I need help with counting and understanding the rhythm more so than the notes themselves. Maybe you've got the notes down pat. I'm going to just let you know, I do have a book called How to Read Music Easily in 30 Days. You can get that at my website. And that book has been designed to give you a 30-day program to pretty much take you from a total beginner of reading music to learning how you would read music the way like a professional musician reads music. And that doesn't mean it's going to make you a professional musician in 30 days, but I'm teaching you the exact techniques of how it's done. And throughout the book, I'm highlighting, this is what's challenging about this particular challenge. This is why an adult learner has trouble with that. So I'm really approaching it more from an adult learner perspective, more so than children. A lot of books you find about learning how to read music are created for children or young adults or young learners. And it's not addressing the problems in the same way I do. So if you're interested in that, check out that book. The next thing I want to take a look at is measures 16 through 32. So the first part we just looked at and learned, that part's going to come back at the end of the song, so we don't need to practice the end of it together. But let's look at measures 16 through 32. I'm going to go to our practice guide on my phone, and I'm going to go into the chopped menu. I'm going to do, what did I say, 16 through 32 here. Okay, and this is where we just left off from the last segment. All right, so we're going to sight read this one together. This starts on the and of beat 3. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. So it's going to start on the and of beat 3. Okay, so let's do that again. If you are still focusing on your rhythm, but the counting is throwing you off, you'll want to take it slower when you have time to watch back the video. You could play the video at like a slower speed. YouTube lets you do that somewhere like down there in the corner. But try clapping along. So I'm going to do the clapping with you this time. I'm going to do it in play mode so the computer will play it so I can clap. So here we go. Let's get our hands up and ready, because it's not going to give us, it's only going to give us one measure to count in when we let the software do it. Here we go. And oh, I got to do it on my phone, sorry.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, set, go.
And 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, counted and clapped that. I was really just counting and clapping the melody parts. There's a couple notes that are accompaniment, so I didn't clap on those. So if you have questions about the counting there, let me know in the chat, or if you have other questions you want to address about this section. We'll go back and do it again, playing it with the keyboard. All right, so we're going to try that one more time. I'm going to do it in prep mode just so you have a little more time to follow along. Okay, and our first note, let's look at our keyboard. Our first note is G, so go ahead and get your left hand positioned on G. I'm not a stickler for what fingers you use when you play the keyboard, but I am using my pointer finger to get started. The first note in the right hand is going to be F here. All right, so go ahead and get your pinky on F and your pointer on G. All right, so I'll switch back now to the iPhone. Okay, and it starts on the and of beat 3. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, excellent. So if you struggle to count along with me, watch the replay, use the slow down feature on YouTube so that you can do it a little bit slower. And of course you can repeat, but when you watch it on the replay and you try this again yourself, if you can't try it right now, just try to not give in to the temptation to just stop every time a mistake is made. Because the goal of what we're doing is sight reading. It's not necessarily, how to read music. Well, it is how to read music because I'm trying to teach you how to read music in a way that you can do it smoothly and effortlessly. But it does take intentional practice of repetition. The thing I caution you against is every time you feel like you're making a mistake, don't stop, because we have to push through that hurdle to get to being able to do it fluently. So if you do feel like you've made a mistake, just keep moving, and that is why I recommend Piano Marvel, because when you practice with just paper music, which I do recommend that when you reach a certain point, the software helps you push through the part that you find challenging, and you may not be ready to push yourself, or you may not even like the idea of pushing, but the software will allow you to flow along with the music a lot more easily while you're in the learning stage. So we've really looked at all the content in this piece. It's going to repeat parts of it, but we've covered all the music itself. So when you try this yourself, you'll see that the first part we practice comes back at the end. There is a question that's popped in here. David asks, in measure 2, does that make the 3 notes a triplet? Let's go back to measure, the second measure here. And David, help me clarify if I'm not following you, because we're starting here at measure 16, but the second measure on the screen um, is measure 17, which does have 3/8 notes. On Santa's on his, the ta on his is 3 notes. But if you mean a different spot, let me know. To answer your question, there's not any triplets in this music, but the way you can tell that, and you might mean this first measure here, but a triplet will generally almost always have the number 3 written over it. You'll see the 3 notes grouped together, and you'll see the number 3 on top of it. Now, in some music, I talk about in my book a lot the difference between compound meter and simple meter, which is what everybody I work with struggles with this concept until they understand it. In compound meters, the meter, like I talked about at the beginning, the feel of the music uses a division of 3. So we don't need to use triplets because the music is in that feel. So we don't need the number 3 to tell us that. But when music is in a feel of 2 or some multiple of 2 like that, like this one is a simple meter, we need the 3 to tell us that information. So David, let me know if there was a spot, if I'm not catching the correct measure for you. But that is a really good question, because people ask me all that time. I have another video on my site called Triplets, and I think the video is called Tuplets because they're all called tuplets. The tuplets that are in 3s are triplets. But you'll see a lesson on triplets and tuplets there. Measure 2 of the section. Right there. I think what you're asking me is right here. So we start on a half note, and then we move into an 1/8 note to 4/8 notes together. And these 3/8 notes are a group together. To answer your question, they're not triplets. And like I said, if they were triplets, we would need the number 3 written in the music. You may be a little bit thrown by the grouping of notes, which is called beaming. The beam is this little bar that connects the notes, the stems of the notes up top. Beaming is highly interrelated to the meter itself. So the beaming is different depending on the meter we're in. Why don't we do a lesson on that coming up soon so we can dive into that? Because if you have that question, a million other people have that question, I'm sure. So we'll address beaming and maybe the difference between how do you spot a triplet and how do you know the difference coming up pretty soon. So that's a good question. Thank you. So we're right at the end of our time together. I try to cap it off right at an hour each time. So what I'd like to know is if you have more questions, feel free to send them to me during the week. I'll put a link on the screen. You can send them to our mailbag at oneminutemusiclesson.com/mailbag. I'll send you back a personal reply about that. But you're certainly welcome to throw your comment here on YouTube. That's a fine place. We can learn as a group if your comment's on YouTube. But, if you have a question about anything we learn on the show, send it to our mailbag. The other things I want to mention before we run out of time. If you liked today's episode, I switched things up a little bit. We did a little bit more interaction and a little bit slower style of learning. If you liked today's show, give it a like so I can know. That's how it tells me. But make sure you subscribe and ring the bell, the little icon at the bottom for the bell. Why would you ring that bell? I always used to think that bell is so stupid. I've already subscribed to you. I don't need to ring the bell. The point of the bell is for live streamers like myself. And when you click the bell, what happens is when I go live, so I go live about 5 minutes before we start teaching, your phone or whatever you subscribe to YouTube with, it actually notifies you, oh, the lesson's about to start, so you've got 5 minutes to get prepared for it. So I recommend you ring the bell if you want to follow along every time we're live. I go live 10 a.m. Every Saturday, which is Central Standard Time, same time zone as Chicago and the USA. But soon enough, I want to start doing more lessons during the week. I don't want to always just have 1 hour a week. So when you ring the bell, it will let you know when we do other things live. And I don't want to burden the email list like, oh my God, we're going live in 5 minutes every time I want to do it. So that's the point of the bell. Sandy asks, are we meeting next Saturday on the 26th? I have not decided that, Sandy. I will let my newsletter know for certain. I'm not opposed to it by any means, and I'd like to find a way to be able to meet that time. But, I understand it's the holidays and everybody can't join live because of that. But you can always catch the replay. So I'm trying to think of something that would be very valuable on a replay, because I probably won't be able to have so many people join us live just because of that. But thank you for asking. Okay, cool. That's going to be it for today. I'm going to wrap it up. The only thing I want to say is what I always try to close with is just a special thank you to our patrons. Our patrons are really what help us achieve our mission. So our mission at the 1 Minute Music Lesson is to teach the world music literacy. And, you've seen what we do throughout the hour. I'm actually teaching you music literacy skills. I don't like to sort of water down the concepts. So thank you to our patrons. If you feel like you would like to become a patron, you can visit 1minutemusiclesson.com/support to learn about that. But there's lots of other ways to support the channel. It doesn't all have to be financial, but all the details are there on the website if you're interested in that sort of thing. So that's going to be it for today. Again, like I mentioned to you, Sandy, make sure you're signed up for our newsletter. You can just go to the website to sign up. But that's where I send all those announcements. If I'm going to veer from the schedule, I'll let the email list know that first. Okay, thanks everybody for joining live especially, but if you're catching us on the replay, thanks for watching the replay, and let me know in the comments below, you're watching the replay, and let me know your questions so I can answer those throughout the week or on our next episode of In Tune as we meet live right here in the chat window. So I'll see you. Have a great holiday if I don't see you before, and have a good one. I'll see you next time. Goodbye, guys.